2012, the 5-part video series, Miracles, a Spiritual Journey from Despair to Hope, was produced. That series, in theory, was about discussing my first 2 films. In reality, there was some of that, but it was really about creating a space where participants would share their own spirituality, their own experiences. And everybody's different. I have been told through the years by people, and somebody in one of these, in Miracles as well, have said that my magical world doesn't work for them. The world of my inner child and God doesn't work for them. It doesn't matter, it worked for me. And it may help others, who knows. But for them, what it did is, okay, that doesn't work for me. What works for me? And that would lead them into an inner exploration. And some of that is what was shared in Miracles. In 2014, I began connecting with writings about the nursing home experience. It was excruciating connecting with that material. It took a while, but I started printing those booklets, the first 4 that made the Alzheimer's collection. As hard and as painful as it was, I knew by then that I couldn't just suppress it, ignore it. It needed to come out of my system. So it was painful, it was difficult, but clearly it was in my best interest to go through this. Now, when I look back at the first 5 volumes, I realize that I was writing them all at the same time. Because when I had that crisis in 2003 that I started writing and that the conversations with God began, I had literally blown up in pieces. And so what was coming out through writing were little pieces that eventually became 1 or 2 pages episodes intertwined with conversations with therapists or conversations with God or letters or poetry or photos. But it's just a weaving of all these elements. It's not like I sat down to write one book, finished it, and then the next and the next. No, they were all being written together. So a big part of this project was about organizing all this material. And that organizing them happened in many stages. So 2003 was one level of that organization. In 2014 and 15, I began organizing events, presentations of books and videos, etc., I was obsessed with getting this work out there. Not only because I believe it belongs out there, because it's a message of connection to the new earth, but also because until that happens, I am carrying it on my shoulders. And I need it off my shoulders. And I'm waiting for the higher dimensions to help me, give it and get lighter myself. So I was organizing all these events. I was not getting the response I was hoping I would get, but I kept at it, because when I decide to do something, I do it. Except it wasn't working. In May of 2015, I was rear-ended by a truck, and I had a massive concussion. I can laugh now. I couldn't laugh then. My brain was disappearing. Brain activity was disappearing. I was disappearing. I don't know how I came back. I really don't know. But here I am, still kicking. And what happened when I started coming back, I started getting all these memories, flooded by memories, one more time. These were memories about the 3 big books that I needed to finish, which is Volume 2 of the Flashback series. Now they're finished, okay? I did it. I finished them. But at that point, they were waiting for me to get them out of me. And one was Volcano, the crisis with my first counselor. The next one was A Field with a Million Crosses, the ordeal with the UCC church. And the third one was Advocate, the nursing home experience. So I was having all these memories coming about these 3 books all at the same time. And it's, which way do I go? Talk about confusion. And then I said, I have to take one. I only can do one at a time. And I went into the ordeal with the church. I would get up every morning at 5. Not to write, because all this was already written, but I had to organize writings, correspondence, and documents. In any case, in 2016 or 17, I finished that manuscript. In 2016 or 17, I had a session with my energy healer. That energy word, one big piece of it is flashing, facilitating the release of toxic emotional energy from my system. I am in such a different place right now from where I was when I first started seeing her. I lived for many years in a state of chronic emotional pain, chronic. At some point I was diagnosed with chronic pain syndrome. It would touch me anywhere and it hurt. I never took medications, it just disappeared. And I think it disappeared, I think that it was related to the toxic emotional energy that was so all-encompassing in my system. That got flushed, the pain in my body disappeared. That's my theory. What happened, I don't know. I'm just happy that the pain is not there anymore. The other thing Donna Marie does for me is she connects with the higher dimensions and she channels messages for me. So when I finished the manuscript of Million Crosses and I had a session with her, she said, Georgelina, you are going to write another book. And I said, no, I'm not going to write another book. I cannot write any more books. I have nothing left in me. I had a couple of books to organize, but that's different than writing. I could not think of myself going into these deep traumas, which I still had a collection I could write about, and I'm not going to. I'm done with that. I could not envision going in there and doing all this weaving and processing and something that I learned called transmutation of energy. Transmutation of those emotions into something lighter and different, which is part of the work that is needed for the coming of the new earth. Transmutation of energy. In me and facilitating it in others as well. In any case, she said, you're going to write another book. I said, no, I'm not. And she said, you are going to write another book about how you left the pain behind. Sure enough, the next day I was writing again, and you could tell I was on my last breath, because what was coming were little pages with a few words on each page, a couple of thoughts on each page, and then I had this pile of little pages that I had to organize, which is a theme. It is something that happens to me. It seems to happen a lot. So that book that she said I would is The Way Out. And as you can see, these are little books. The Way Out has 4 parts. Part 1, Unstuck. Part 2, Higher Intelligence and the Inner Child. Part 3, Psychological and Spiritual Insights of a Trauma Survivor. A Practical Guide to a Happier Life. This is not just for trauma survivors. It has some parts that are more specific to people who are struggling with trauma, but it's for anyone that is trying to find their way to feeling better, to finding a way of walking through this very complicated life of today. Part 4, Arrows of Truth, The Bigger Plan. This is a little weird book. Yeah, it's a weird book, but it's but it carries a message and has some very, very clear content. This is about how to lead a meaningful life in a world that is collapsing. This is about how to lead a meaningful life in a world that is collapsing. That is the question. That question alone, if you carry that question in you, how do I make sense of what's going on, and how do I walk through life moment to moment, day to day, in a way that I'm at peace with it, that is meaningful, that aligns with my purpose? Just planting that question and carrying it will attract answers, okay? The energy of intention, of focused intention, brings manifestation. This is real for me. This is very, very real for me. It happens to me all the time. When I feel lost, when I feel confused, which happens, that is part of life. When that happens, I just wait for the insight to come, for the clarity to come. Clarity comes to me through insights, through intuition, and through asking questions in my heart and mind. I ask the questions, and I may wake up with the answer. Very often, I have a notepad by my bed, and I write down those answers that come when I'm waking up. Once I'm awake, I forgot all about what happened in that dreamy state. But that is a powerful practice that has helped me a lot. The Way Out is the centerpiece of the 4th volume called Ascension. Ascension, that volume also has poems and visions, and a new collection, a recent, I'm not writing much, but this collection just happened to start, is the Lightworker collection. And light workers are those who see clearly that they want to move in the direction of the new earth and give their lives to nurture that vision. So I will read from The Way Out, Part 1. Suffering led me deep within, and deep within I found a way out of suffering. The depths of the despair I've walked through, the multitude of losses and traumatic experiences I've survived, belong in separate publications. For this book is about hope. This book is about finding the way out. May you find the path to healing, the path to peace and contentment, and strength and courage and joy. It can be done. If I could do it, so can you. I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Your lungs are breathing, the doctor said, but your soul is not. And God said to me, what do you need, Jay? What do you need so that your soul can breathe? What do I need so that my soul can breathe? What are the needs of my soul? My soul needs poetry and beauty and truth and gentleness and giggles. Yes, my soul needs giggles. And God said, is there anything else you need, baby? I need to hear that you love me, I replied. And God said, I love you, Jay. I always have, I always will, forever and ever. Ultimately, when one feels the love of God within, nothing else matters. Everything is well.